Hey everybody, this is Rycard here again, and welcome back to the black and white move tutor discussions that I've been doing. Today I'm going to be covering Gen 2, and if you are curious, I am using a different screen recorder today, which is why things might look a little different. So I'm hoping that I can do this from now on because it actually looks really good from what I've seen, and I hope you all like it too. But we're going to kick things off with Meganium, and unfortunately, from what I can tell, Meganium actually doesn't get anything this gen, or with the new move tutors. So that's kind of unfortunate for it. I know it gets Leaf Guard as its Dream World ability, but still, Overgrow is better in my opinion. So even though it can run these moves now with Leaf Guard, I would still go with Overgrow anyway. I'm also not sure if it could learn Magic Coat earlier, but now it can do that if it couldn't. And that's kind of cool because Meganium is predominantly a wall, so you would expect things to want to come in and status you and things like that. So that could be potentially useful on Meganium, but I still don't see it having that much practical use to it. As for Typhlosion, I know that it gets Flash Fire for its Dream World, and now it can run the punches if it couldn't do that already, which is kind of cool, though physical Typhlosion really isn't that common, so I would doubt that you would really see it that often, but that is another option for it if it wants to. As for Feraligatr, everybody knows that that gets Sheer Force now, and people are going nuts about that. I even put up a video in the viewer submission sets week about that because someone made a really cool special one. But I don't know if it got superpower earlier, but it can do that now, so that's really crazy with Dragon Dance and everything. So that'll definitely be a force to be reckoned with, as they say. And now it can run Ice Punch. With that, I'm not sure if it could before, and I made a video a while back where I was pretty convinced that you couldn't run Ice Punch with Feraligatr, but I guess you can, regardless of if you couldn't before. I think you can actually breed anyways, but I wasn't aware of that back then. Um, and I think that's pretty much all it really benefits from. So obviously, Dream World Feraligatr is just going to be ridiculous anyways, but now it can at least be able to use superpower if it couldn't before, and that's pretty cool. As for Furret doesn't really get anything, but it is able to use these moves now with its Dream World ability, which is Frisk, and that's, in my opinion, a lot better than what it already has. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I know it's not even useful. So that's cool for Furret. So now you can actually have a beneficial ability to allow you to at least scout things as well. And I'm also not sure if I got Super Fang before, but that's really cool. And everything else is pretty much, I believe, already there. I think it already had Trick, and I think Hyper Voice is actually new, but Furret isn't a special attacker, so you wouldn't really be using that anyways. But as for Noctowl, however, Noctowl got really good addition to its move pool in the form of, where is it? I totally just saw, yeah, Hyper Voice. Now, Noctowl gets Tinted Lens as its Dream Mode ability, so now you can actually run Hyper Voice without really having to worry about resistances, and it's more powerful than Air Slash, which would be your normal stab move on Noctowl anyway. So now if you want to run like a special Noctowl set, whether it be like a Choice Scarf or Spec set, or one with Agility, which is one I like to use, all you need is really Hyper Voice and Air Slash, and then you just need a coverage move to deal with things that quad resist those moves, which will be like your Steel Rock types. So you could run like HP Ground or something like that to deal with those, or even Heat Wave, which it can now do. I actually wait, what? Since when is Noctowl? Wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong line. Sorry, I was like, since when can Noctowl use Giga Drain? Anyway, Ledian actually really benefits from these move tutors because Ledian's Dream World ability is Iron Fist, and it couldn't actually use the punches with them before, which is now something that it can do. So it can use Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, and Drain Punch, which is really cool for Ledian. Drain Punch especially because it has that weakness to Stealth Rock, so that's really great. The only thing is that Ledian's physical attack is absolutely awful, but it is kind of what it can. It's the only stat it can boost, I believe, because it does get Swords Dance, and Ledian does have some pretty good speed. So a potential physical Ledian set with Swords Dance and the punches is another thing that it can do. It also can use Acrobatics with Flight Gem if you want to do that too. So Ledian actually does get benefited from these moves, but it's still not that great from the physical side anyway, which kind of sucks. Excuse me for a second. Ariados didn't get anything either. Actually, it got Foul Play. I don't think it had that already, which is kind of cool because Ariados, is basically known for having just like Toxic Spikes and Sucker Punch. It really can't do much else. It does, have X's or I think Cross Poison as well, but it's really not that extensive of a move pool. So having Foul Play on it could be really great for it to be able to take advantage of its opponent's attack. Um, and the good thing about actually this is that unlike most Pokemon that can use Foul Play, Ariados isn't weak to fighting, which is most Pokemon that can use Foul Play. So it actually won't be a resisted Foul Play the majority of the time because it quad resists fighting. At least that's how it works in my head. And obviously, Dark types wouldn't want to be in on Ariados anyway because it's a bug type. So that actually could have some more usage than I'm actually initially thinking. So that might be a great addition for Ariados. As for Crobat, Crobat doesn't get anything, but it can use these moves now with Infiltrator, but as I said before with Gen 1, I seriously think that Inner Focus is just better because you don't really see screens that often. As for Lantern, Lantern's Dream World ability is Water Absorb, which is cool because it also has Volt Absorb, so when that gets released, that can kind of be of like a, oh, what does it actually resist type, or what is it actually immune to type of thing. But it can now run these moves with Water Absorb. I'm not sure if it could already do that with Heal Bell, but that's probably the most important move on this set, or Sleep Talk, or on like a defensive Lantern because they're usually not that offensive. And you can also run Signal Beam with it now, which I think was a move tutor move 4th gen, so that could be with Water Absorb. But overall, if you're just using your regular Lantern, it's going to be basically the same. The little evolutions don't really matter. Togetic, unfortunately, I don't really see anything. I think it already had Hyper Voice, but even if it doesn't, it already has Tri Attack, which is a lot better with Serene Grace anyway. And its Dream World ability is Super Luck, I believe, which doesn't really help you out at all with anything involving Togetic. So really you're just going to stick to Serene Grace and as well with Togekiss, so it's really nothing big for Togetic. As for Xatu, it can now run Magic Coat with Magic Bounce. That was the dumb joke that I planned on making when I made this video, so excuse me for even making that. But in all seriousness, Xatu getting Foul Play is really cool because it can now use that to be even more annoying with Magic Bounce, so that's another option that it has. And it also gets Heat Wave, which you can run with Magic Bounce now, which is really good because even though you don't really see offensive Xatus, at least when I played the tier, I think it's UU or RU, I didn't really see too many offensive Xatus. They were primarily just like dual screeners. You can now run Heat Wave with Magic Bounce, and unlike Calm Minding Xatu sets, this could actually be really great with that ability, so that's really cool. I also wasn't aware that it even learned Giga Drain. Was anybody aware of that? Because that's really freaking cool, and I was completely unaware. I'm just pointing that out right now. And also, obviously having, Sleep Talk with Magic Bounce is great now. And Giga Drain and whatnot. So, Trick, I repeated myself. So, that's really cool if it couldn't do that already, so Xatu definitely benefits from this. Ampharos, unfortunately, doesn't. Ampharos's Dream World ability is Plus, which is absolutely useless in singles, so while that might have some use in doubles, it can now run these moves with that, but in all honesty, all of these moves that I'm seeing, I believe Ampharos could already learn, except maybe Outrage, but I don't see that being too useful in Ampharos anyway. As for Blossom unfortunately didn't get anything, which sucks, but that's kind of how it is. It doesn't have a really cool Dream World ability either, like Vileplume does with Effect Spore, so Blossom didn't really benefit at all from these move tutor moves. As for Azumarill, the thing about it is that while it can use all these moves now with its Dream World ability, which is Herbivore, you still don't really use Herbivore on Azumarill because the whole reason to use it is because of huge power. So even though you can all use these moves now, it's still kind of useless to run any of them with Herbivore, and it already learned all these moves anyways. So Azumarill kind of didn't really get anything, which kind of stinks. Sudowoodo didn't either, from my understanding. I think it actually got Foul Play. That's actually, the only thing I can think of that it gets, and its Dream World ability is Rattled anyway, which isn't great because you have to get hit by a move to increase your speed, and unlike the weak armor, it has to be a specific kind of move. So I don't really think Sudowoodo got anything from this gen, but Foul Play could be kind of cool, and that kind of just increases its usability from a more utility standpoint, I guess, but not really from an offensive one. Politoed, getting, actually no. Yeah, Politoed didn't get anything as far as I know. Actually no, it got bounced. That was the one thing that I saw that it didn't already learn. And that could be kind of cool for Politoed because now it can threaten things with paralysis, which is interesting, and it might not have that much utility to it, but it's cool that it can do it now. And I'm not sure if it was able to use Ice Punch with Drizzle, um, but it can do that now, or Icy Wind with Drizzle. And that actually could be kind of cool because you can lower things speed when they come in, but overall, Politoed is basically the same as it was. Jumpluff also didn't really get anything, unfortunately, and all these moves I learned already, but Infiltrator really isn't that great of an ability either, so I'm not really sure what you could do at Jumpluff. Aipom, and also eventually, I guess, Ambipom didn't really get anything either because Skill Link is their Dream World ability, or at least Ambipom's, and maybe before you weren't able to run the punches with Skill Link, so that kind of could be something cool now. But even so, you really didn't use the punches, even with Technician Ambipom, because of the fact that it just had better moves to use than the punches for the most part. Maybe the most common one I saw was either Ice Punch or Fire Punch, but other than that, like, you really didn't see him using those moves that often. Sunflora didn't get anything, kind of sucks, but I'm sorry, Sunflora. I like Sunflora, but it still is pretty bad, and this didn't really help at all, unfortunately. Actually, did it have Endeavor before? I just noticed that. I don't know if it did, but that's kind of cool, I guess. Yanma didn't really get anything, as far as I know. It looks basically the same to me. Quagsire, though, did get an interesting boost in the fact that I can now use Ice Punch with Unaware, which it couldn't do before. So that's great for it. So now, like, Curse Quagsire sets could be more useful because you won't have to worry about grass types as much because you can hit them for super effective damage, which you couldn't do before. So like a Curse Recover Ice Punch Earthquake set could be good, or Ice Punch Waterfall. But that's kind of cool for Quagsire now that it can use Ice Punch with Unaware, which is nice. I don't think that Espeon got anything. It did get Hyper Voice. That's new. And maybe it wasn't able to run Trick before with Magic Bounce, but it can do that now, which is cool. And that's really great for Espeon. So if Trick is new to it, that's really cool. And as for Umbreon getting Foul Play is really cool because, as I said before, like, it's one of those bulkier Pokemon that are primarily walls that don't really have the attacking stats to hit things hard. But again, like most Dark types that learn it, it's not really going to be having the chance to use it too often in a super effective way because most things that would want to come in on Umbreon are fighting types, so Foul Play wouldn't be super effective against them anyways. I don't know if it had Spite before or not, but that's pretty cool if it didn't. And I think that's pretty much all Umbreon got because its Dream World ability isn't too useful as well. Murkrow, for purposes of like prankster sets, didn't really get anything, unfortunately. Actually, Spite is new, I think, to it too, but you could potentially run a Rest Talk set with Prankster, which is kind of cool now. I'm not sure if that would actually be useful at all, but it's interesting. And it also got Foul Play, if it didn't already. So that is also beneficial to Murkrow as it was to Umbreon before. Slowking didn't get anything unless it couldn't run some of these moves with Regenerator. But either way, as I said with like Slowbro, the only time you would ever see like a bunch of these moves from what I'm seeing, it would be like on a Belly Drum set, but you don't really see that anyways. Or if it couldn't run Trick with Regenerator, it can do that now. So that's great because I actually see a lot of Specs Slowkings around recently. So Trick could actually be even more useful for it, actually. As for Misdreavus, Foul Play again, useful for it because it allows it to obviously hit things harder up from the physical side if it doesn't have that great of an attack stat anyway. Yeah, it didn't really get anything because you honestly have to run, obviously, I mean, not honestly, that you have to run Levitate with it because that's the only ability that it gets. Unknown and Wobbuffet, no explanation really needed there. They obviously can't learn any new tutor moves. Girafarig, though, actually did get Hyper Voice, which is really good because it didn't actually have a special attacking move from the normal type side other than Uproar, and since you're locked into that, it wasn't as useful. So having Hyper Voice, also Echo Voice, I guess, was there, but Hyper Voice is more useful because you have to keep using Echo Voice to make it more powerful. But having that is really great for special Giraffe Rig sets, so that's really nice for it. Also, the ability to use like Trick and stuff on Herbivore sets is pretty cool. But honestly, like that's not that big of a deal if it wasn't able to do that already. Forretress, unfortunately, doesn't get anything because with Forretress, you're going to want to run Sturdy. You're not going to want to use the other ability. And all the other moves, it either has a better move to use, like in the case of Drill Run, because it already learns Earthquake, or it's just not really useful for regular Forretress sets. Also, Dunsparce didn't get anything, kind of upsetting. It would be cool if it did get something cool, but it already got Coil, which is nice. And unfortunately, Drill Run doesn't get multiplied by Serene Grace, so you won't have an increased crit, unfortunately, as far as I know. As for Gligar, okay, people are freaking out about Gliscor, but I'm actually more worried about Gligar in the tier that it's in because of the fact that Gligar's Dream World ability is immunity, and the most common way to deal with Gligar is to poison it. So now you can't poison it, so you're going to have to wear it down some other way. And now you can run that with Roost, and you can use it with Stealth Rock as well. So that's really freaking awesome for Gligar. And I'm really happy about that because now it's even going to be even more annoying to deal with the Violet and everything. So that's really awesome. You can still obviously hit it from the special side, so it's not like it's going to wall everything, so just use like HP Ice or something. But it's bulkier than Gliscor, and honestly, I think with this, it's actually better, personally. I mean, I know you have the added recovery with Poison Heal, but it's pretty much better from the defensive side at least. Anyway, Steelix has Sheer Force as its Dream World ability, and now it gets Iron Head, which it didn't actually learn before. So now Iron Head with like a Rock Polish set is getting boosted by Sheer Force, so that is really cool. And Steelix also learns all the Fangs and Rock Slide and things like that, so it could actually run a pretty cool Sheer Force set. And with having Iron Head as a really good stab option is nice for it, and that's really cool. Up next, though, we have Granbull, and unfortunately, I don't think Granbull got anything. All these moves look relatively the same, and I don't think its Dream World ability is anything really crazy, so I think it's Rattled as well. So that kind of stinks for Granbull, but I think Granbull's pretty good as it is with like Intimidate and stuff like that. But whatever. Qwilfish. Qwilfish is cool now because it can run Pain Split with Intimidate. It couldn't do that already. So now Qwilfish, as annoying as it I hate Qwilfish. I like it, but I hate going up against it because it walls a lot of physical attackers now because of Intimidate. But now that it has Pain Split, it can recover HP really well while walling things, so that's really nice for Qwilfish. I'm happy about that it got it, but as I said, Qwilfish is so annoying. Scizor didn't get anything. It's not like Scizor needs anything anyways. And it's just as good as it always was, and it's not like you would run its Dream World ability because the whole point of using Scizor is for Technician and things like that. Shuckle didn't get anything as far as I can tell, but Shuckle did get a new move that it learns from leveling up, which it now learns Shell Smash, which is kind of cool for Shuckle, but at the same time it has some of the worst attacking stats in the game, so it doesn't really matter. But what somebody messaged me the other day, and I didn't even know about this until this person sent me, was that Shuckle's Dream World ability is Contrary, and Contrary with Shell Smash is like a stockpile, or like a cosmic power. So that's really freaking cool for Shuckle, but still, it's not going to be doing anything because it can't hit anything, and the only thing Shuckle can do is Toxic Stall anyway, so as long as you have a Steel type, it doesn't even matter. As far as like consistently walling things, but if you can get rid of your opponent's Steel types, Shuckle with Shell Smash could actually be pretty damn good and very difficult to take down if you use it with like Rest or something. Heracross didn't get anything. Actually, I don't know if it could already learn Iron Defense, but that's pretty cool. But it already gets Bulk Up, I think, so it's not like Iron Defense would really benefit it at all. Sneasel is basically the same. I think it could already learn Foul Play, and its Dream World ability is the thing where you take something's item. I forget what it's called, but I don't see that being useful. Maybe it is, but it can now run these moves with that if it couldn't already, so that's cool. Ursaring didn't get anything as far as I know. It did learn get anything useful as well. I mean, it does learn Hyper Voice now, but you're never really going to see a special Ursaring set anyway, so it's not like it really matters. Macargo didn't really get anything either. It's not like I don't know if it already got Pain Split, but it already learns Recover, so it's not a big deal. So unfortunately, Macargo is still basically how it was before. Piloswine and also Mamoswine can now run Thick Fat with all of these moves, which are great because Mamoswine couldn't use Superpower or Stealth Rock or Endeavor with Thick Fat, and now it can do that, so that's really great, and definitely will help it out. Also with the craziness of all like the dragons now, with freaking Salamence being able to run Outrage with Moxie and Dragon Dance, you're probably going to see a lot more Mamoswine usage to take care of those things. So that's really great for it. Corsola, I don't think got anything. Actually, Corsola might not have been able to run Stealth Rock with Regenerator before, so that's actually really cool. Corsola's really great with that ability now, and now that it can run Stealth Rock with it, if it couldn't before, is actually really good for it. So actually, I'm actually happy about that for Corsola, because I like it. Octillery didn't get anything, unfortunately, so that kind of stinks. Actually, I don't know if I could learn Bounce already, but I don't see that being too useful on Octillery. Delibird didn't get anything, which kind of stinks. Actually, I don't know if it could learn Sky Attack already, but that's kind of cool if it couldn't, because even though you would normally run like Hustle with Aerial Ace, Sky Attack could be pretty cool. Even though like if you use it with a Power Herb, I mean, so that you don't have to have the startup turn. Mantine didn't get anything, but Mantine does now learn Air Slash, which is something it didn't before, and that was something Mantine was seriously lacking, was a really good special move from the flying type side, which it also is. And that's really good, so now like a Rain Dance set, I think it learns Swift Swim. Either way, it has Tailwind or Agility, but that could be cool for like an offensive Mantine set, which you hardly ever see. But now that it learns that, that's really good. And also, even with just Scald and Air Slash, that's a really good combination, and you could potentially get more burn damage from flinching things. So I'm actually really happy that Mantine got that. Skarmory, I don't know if it could already learn Iron. Actually, no, it couldn't. I looked this up. Skarmory couldn't learn Iron Head, so that's really cool that it gets that now, and that's actually a useful option for it. So it doesn't necessarily have to run Brave Bird as its offensive move, or it can run both. And since Brave Bird obviously has recoil, Iron Head might be another better option if you're thinking, because you won't get that recoil, you can still get a chance to flinch, and it's also stab, so it's actually a pretty cool option for it. But other than that, it looks pretty much the same to me. Actually, I don't know if it got Sky Attack either, like Delibird, but that's kind of cool. Houndoom, I think, now gets Super Fang. I'm not sure if it could learn already, but I think this is new, which is kind of cool. And that, even though, Houndoom is very threatening with, like, Nasty Plot and things like that, this could give it some more usefulness, because now you don't really have to worry about your opponent switching out into something that'll resist whatever move you're going to use, because now you can just half whatever's HP is coming into you. So that actually makes Houndoom more dangerous if it couldn't already learn that. And I think it gets Foul Play as well if it couldn't already, so that's cool. As for Kingdra, unfortunately it didn't get anything. I actually don't know if it could learn Iron Head, but that's kind of cool. But I don't think Kingdra really benefited from anything this with the move tutors. Donphan looks the same to me, as far as I know. I don't know if it could learn Superpower already, actually. That's kind of cool, but Earthquake generally has the same kind of type coverage that Superpower does. So I don't really see any of that as being too useful for Donphan. Porygon 2 didn't really. Actually, Foul Play might be new for Porygon 2, and Electro Web is probably new for that. But overall, it's really not that useful for Porygon 2. And with its Dream World ability being Analyze, I don't think any of these moves really help it out either with that. Stantler, I wonder, does Stantler get Hyper Voice now? No, Stantler doesn't get Hyper Voice. But yeah, Stantler's basically the same, unfortunately. That kind of stinks. Smeargle, that's funny. Hitmontop doesn't get anything as far as I know. I'm not sure if it couldn't learn Endeavor, but now it can if it couldn't. But as far as I know, Hitmontop is basically the same. These guys don't really matter. Miltank actually gets benefited from the move tutors, because Herbivore is its Dream World ability, and physical sets for Miltank using Herbivore, because Miltank actually has base 100 speed, which not a lot of people know. and it has some pretty decent attack. It could actually make use of better herbivore sets, like physically offensive ones, now that it has the punches. So that's really cool for Miltank. But other than that, I think all the moves that it has already learns. So that's cool. Blissey, I think, is the same. Honestly, actually, no. Hyper Voice might be new on Blissey. So that's cool. And maybe, well, either way, Blissey's attack stats really aren't that great. Endeavor on Blissey. That's really funny. Just because it has massive HP. But I think Blissey is basically the same. Hyper Voice might actually be a new addition. But that's pretty cool for it if it is new. As for the dogs, I believe that they're dogs. That's what I've been told. Raikou doesn't really get anything. And normally people will still run the Raikou that can learn Aura Sphere with the Rash nature. It's like the event one. Same thing for Entei. Entei doesn't really get anything because of the fact that you would normally want to run an Entei set with Extreme Speed, which is the event Entei as well. But Suicune, now that it can... Oh, by the way, their Dream Mode abilities are Volt Absorb and Flash Fire. And I don't think any of these things it couldn't already use with those. Maybe Signal Beam for Raikou. But Suicune, once its Dream Mode ability is released, can run Sleep Talk with Water Absorb, which sucks because now Suicune will just wall everything. Not really. It gives it another option because it can absorb water moves now, and it couldn't run Sleep Talk with that originally, so that's really freaking cool for Suicune. So now like Rest Talk Suicune is going to be even worse to deal with because it can absorb water moves now. As for Tyranitar, Foul Play I think is new to it, which could be cool, but I don't see it being that useful because there are a lot better things that Tyranitar can do. And obviously you wouldn't use Tyranitar's Stream Mode ability because half the time you're going to use it for Sand Stream. But as for the legendary Pokemon, I'm going to be completely honest and say that I really don't know what they get. Let me see. Yeah, Celebi, which is the one I'm most familiar with, I think looks the same to me. But I think the only big thing to make note of is that Ho-Oh can now use all these moves with Regenerator, which is amazing for Ho-Oh because of that 4-time Stealth Rock weakness. And I'm almost positive it couldn't learn Earth Power with that now, so it can do it. But I don't really know too much about Lugia or Ho-Oh, so if you do and you see something cool for it, please let me know. I didn't even know Lugia could learn Giga Drain, that's cool. But they can both run Roost now with those Dream World abilities, if they couldn't already. But that's pretty much all I have to say about Gen 2. A lot of cool things, mostly to Pokemon that were on the lower end of the tier list, but that's great for them because that gives them some more usefulness, and hopefully will make them more used and seen and common. But that's all I have to say for this analysis, so be looking forward to the 3rd gen and 4th gen ones coming up in the next few days. I'm looking forward to doing them, so I hope you all enjoyed this video, and as always, take care and goodbye.